So actually just before 7 p.m. we had an inmate press their emergency button inside of their cell. It stated that he'd been in a fight with his cellmate. So deputies responded, detained him, found his cellmate lying on the floor. From there they removed him from his cell, began CPR. He was unresponsive. Fire department personnel arrived, continued CPR, and then pronounced him deceased, unfortunately. So from here, Sheriff's Homicide investigators are here on scene along with CSI. The investigation's just begun about an hour or so ago, so we're kind of in the middle of that. The jail is currently on lockdown, closed for public visits until further notice. Both inmates, both are male, and both were housed on 4 West, and obviously we're both cellmates. Speaking about the victim first off, obviously we want to let next of kin know, so that process has to go before we release that part. Secondly, the other inmate, we're not going to release that until we figure out that he's actually guilty of some criminal act. So we've got to find out that he's actually a suspect of a criminal action. There's still a possibility it was self-defense, could be really anything, so it'd be unfair to out him right away or, until he's formally ad-booked or arrested. I mean, obviously there's a lot of video surveillance outside, whether it's in the day room, in the recreation areas. There is an emergency button inside of the cell, so whether it's something more, someone having a medical emergency or something in this case where 2 inmates were involved in a fight, but some way to alert deputies. So that's already built inside the cells. But I mean, obviously more details will come once the investigation is complete. One thing is these things are not as clear cut as it might appear. A lot of people think, well, there's cameras everywhere and let's see everything. There's not cameras actually inside of that cell. Those are only, again, reserved usually if there's someone on suicide watch or something like that, which was not the case here. There are very limited number of isolation cells, so most cells in here are occupied with 2 inmates. So that's actually a result of the consent decree that they didn't want isolation cells. So again, we've got a lot to unfold. These investigations can take a little bit because there's some challenges. We don't always have the most cooperative of witnesses all the time, and we've got to, again, figure out what led up to it. So it might not be as cut and dry as you would think like it would be on TV. So sometimes these things take a little bit. So think of it like a crime scene. So I mean, it's like a crime scene you'd have on a street. Everything's isolated. Everybody's obviously locked down. The scene is kept very pristine for all evidence collection, whether they're photos, fingerprints, DNA, you name it. They run the whole gamut like they would on any other homicide investigation.